Hello, AP Worlders. Welcome to your Foundations Era Pastoralist Migration lecture. Throughout the Paleolithic period, humans migrated from Africa to Eurasia, Australia, and the Americas. This is a good map to visualize that because it shows the spread of humans over time. All right, and notice this is over time. All right, so you had 700,000 years ago, 92,000 years ago, etc. All right, so over time, humans originated here in East Africa and migrated throughout Eurasia and then eventually into the Americas. And Paleolithic means the Old Stone Age. In this Old Stone Age or Paleolithic era represents over 95% of the time that human beings have lived on Earth. But only 12% of the people to ever live on Earth. All right, so that just shows you how large our population is now during this part of the time. All right, these early humans were mobile and creative in adapting to the different geographical settings. These hunting forager groups lived in bands, and as humans, they gradually migrated. All right, so here's a look at these hunter and forager living in small bands. These early humans lived in small groups of 25 to 50 people, and they were mostly egalitarian. That's how you spell the word. And that's where all people were even in the group. Women gathered food, which made up the majority of the diet, and then the men hunted. Decisions were made by the oldest member of the band because these bands were kinship or family groups. Some groups of these hunters and foragers adapted to the environment and became settled agricultural societies. Those are the people you read about in your textbook, the agricultural societies. Other groups turned into pastoralists, and then some remained as these hunters and foragers. So as I said, the agricultural people you'll read about, and the pastoralists is what we're going to focus on now. All right, and pastoralists are people who make their living by tending herds of large animals. They moved to new lands for their animals to graze on. All right, so they were a step up from the hunters and foragers because they domesticated animals. All right, the agricultural people, they also domesticated animals. All right, but the agricultural people stayed put. The pastoralists, they would move from place to place so their animals would have grass to graze on. All right, and due to this mobility, they didn't have large amounts of possessions. The migration these pastoralists did led to a lot of technological changes during this Foundations era. And they were forced to have these technological changes as they interacted with these settled agricultural communities. Pastoralists also led to an increased economic exchange. All right, they were often the facilitators of this trade between the agricultural societies as the pastoralists would move. Pastoralists were often the developers and disseminators of new weapons and modes of transportation. They would transform welfare into agrarian civilization. Two key examples that the pastoralists came up with during this time period were iron weapons and horseback riding. Some similarities between pastoralists and agrarian societies or agricultural societies, farming societies, was that in both the elite groups accumulated all the wealth. All right, so in a agricultural society, the elite groups would control the crops that were being grown. All right, and then in pastoralists, they would be the ones that controlled the domesticated animals. All right, both the pastoralists and agricultural societies created more hierarchical social structures. All right, so remember during the hunting and foragers, everybody was pretty much equal. Once we started to domesticate animals and farm, we started to get these social classes and social groups. Also, both promoted patriarchal forms of social organization. All right, remember, patriarchal means where it's male-dominant society, and women had little rights. Now, applying some of the themes of our class, to these people. All right, the first theme is interactions between humans and environments. All right, the main way pastoralists interacted with the environment was by grazing their animals. All right, that grazing of the land could also often lead to erosion if they overgrazed the land. All right, but the main way that they interacted was through. You also could put domesticating their animals as well. All right. The next theme is development and interaction of cultures. Pastoralists didn't have advanced cultures, or as advanced cultures as the agricultural people. All right, and the reason why is due to the lack of specialization. All right, farmers or agricultural societies, they're going to have such a food surplus that their people are going to be able to specialize in certain things like the arts. All right, so in the pastoralists, they did have a food surplus, but not as much as the agricultural people, so their advances in culture were limited. All right, our third theme is state building, expansion, and conflict. All right, due to migration, the pastoral societies were smaller than the settled agricultural societies. But they needed protection so often that they developed different warfare weapons and techniques. The relationship between the pastoralists and agricultural societies was mainly conflict. All right, pastoral people were attracted to the wealth and sophistication of the agricultural societies, and they sought access to their lands, crops, and manufactured products. Our fourth theme is economic systems. And due to the pastoralist movement, they did facilitate trade between agricultural societies. All right, then last, the social structures. During the Paleo times, remember, people were egalitarian, or mostly equal. But as we started to evolve, we started to get more patriarchal societies and class structures. All right, like a hierarchy. All right, so that's everything for this lecture for the pastoralist and the migration. All right, now you're reading about the agricultural people, so you could probably guess in class tomorrow or the next class that you're going to have to be able to compare and contrast the two. All right, so you're going to be able to tell similarities and differences between the agricultural and the pastoralist. All right, see you in class.